Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Saturday, August 31st, 2019, and that means it is Saturday Night Silver with Smaulgld. And we've got an all silver show tonight. We're going to start off with a question about silver confiscation, but then we're going to move on to Indian silver update, Indian silver imports. Then we're going to check out the stockpiles around the world, how they're doing. And then we're going to take a look at a never-before-seen Morgan silver dollar. We're going to take a look at the commitment of traders over at the COMEX. And then we've got a new chart on mining countries, the top 10 mining countries, and their output from 2014 to 2019. So let's get started. Let's get started with that question on silver confiscation, because I got a question on that. It's one that comes up a lot, and I've done many videos on it, but it is something, obviously, people don't watch every video over the last 5 or 10 years. So let's handle that now again, because it is something that comes up from time to time. The question was a little more nuanced than just, are they going to confiscate silver? This comes from Gold, Silver, Cryptos. Hi, Smaulgld. Awesome video. He was watching the Platinum video. By the way, Platinum will be up on Smaulgld again. I'm going to have James Henry Anderson from Silver Doctors on Tuesday. Not a live stream. We're going to record a show. And he's got some insights on Platinum of his own. And also, we've got some charts. And we'll take a look at Platinum. But that was what Gold, Silver, Crypto was responding to the Platinum video, but I guess it prompted his memory on confiscation. He says, given the history of our monetary system and how authoritarian governments can be with regards to confiscation of silver and gold, do you think it's better to get numismatic coins instead of bullion coins like the kangaroo, koala, Canadian maple leaf, or silver eagle? So he's talking about sovereign minted coins. He says, I have all bullion, mostly 1 ounce silver coins, but also 100 ounce and 1 kilogram bars. Any thoughts on this, please? Now, here's my quick response, but then I'm going to give you a more fulsome response. I responded to him that gold and silver confiscation in the United States was done just for 2 reasons that don't exist today. Gold was confiscated in order to remove it from the monetary system. So they did that in 1933. FDR did that by executive order 6112, and I think that's the number of it. And that was meant to devalue the dollar, to remove gold from the system. They thought back then, same thing, pre-Keynes, that if you somehow were able to get inflation, that would drive the economy. That was also behind Roosevelt's burn the crops, kill the cattle, make the prices of farm goods go higher. Somehow that was going to be a good thing. Anyway, so gold was confiscated to remove from the financial system, from the monetary system back then. Well, today there is no gold in the monetary system to remove. If you removed all the gold, if you took everyone's gold, that's not going to change the value of the dollar. It's just not going to happen. It won't have any impact whatsoever. Now, silver was confiscated as well by JFK in 1934. Another executive order. And the reason they were confiscating silver back then was, it's a long story, I'm not going to go into it, but they found themselves by 1934 with a silver shortage because they had sold a lot of coins, melted down a lot of silver dollars pursuant to the Pittman Act of 1918. And then they were supposed to mine a lot of silver in Nevada and then replace all of those silver dollars that they melted down. They melted them down to send them to England because India had a rupee shortage. Long story short, they did manage to mine a lot of silver and replace 287 million silver dollars. However, in doing so, they were unable to meet the demands for dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So by 1934, the net impact was they needed silver. So the government went on a massive silver purchasing spree. They had the Silver Purchase Act in 1934, and they wanted people to turn in their silver. But unlike when they turned their silver in, when they turned their gold in 1934 for the purpose of removing it from the monetary system. This silver was being collected to return it to the monetary system because they needed it to make coins out of. Also, they didn't confiscate. If you were stacking quarters and dimes, they didn't really want that because they didn't want you to hoard it, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense just to turn it in order to melt it down and make new coins. What they really wanted was a lot of scrap silver. So the two reasons why gold and silver were confiscated in 1933 and 1934 respectively were for reasons that don't exist today. One was to remove the gold from the monetary system. The other was they needed silver to make silver coins. Neither of those exist today. They don't make silver coins. They have no need for silver coins. But you say, what if they need gold or silver for some other reason? Generally, no government's going to need gold for any reason, any industrial reason. The only reason they might need it would be for a gold standard. But chances are Americans don't have that much gold. If they're going to go after gold and on a big confiscation scheme, they would nationalize the mines. They'd go after stockpiles. Don't think they would ask people to turn in their gold. There's not that much gold in people's hands. Now, if they were going to go after people's gold, they said, you know what? We need every last ounce. We want to nationalize every last ounce. I don't think they'd care whether you had a kangaroo stamped on your coin or gold eagle on your coin, or whether you just had gold bars. I don't think they would care if they were in that desperate situation that they had to go around and ask for people's gold. I think it's exactly the same thing for silver. They're more likely to need silver than they would gold. But there's also silver mines in the United States. They have the ability to get silver. They do not have a silver stockpile. So I would say, these are both remote, if there was going to be a confiscation, there would be a confiscation of things like industrial metals like copper or nickel or silver, more so than gold. Okay. So I think that should answer it. Now, if you're interested in more information on this, that's just a quick summary of my thoughts. There are two videos I did. The first one, and I'll leave links below this video, they'll be on smaulgld.com. On the blog post associated with this video, I will put all the charts and all the videos that we discussed. One of them is when the United States confiscated silver. That'll be up on smaulgld.com. It'll be in the links below the video, but smaulgld.com will have all this stuff. And then there was another one I did most recently, just back in March. Are they coming for your silver? The silver confiscation issue. I discuss it in more detail. But I really don't think... The reason people say buy numismatics instead of bullion is in the executive orders, they always exempt personal items, collectible items. They even do the same when they tell you can't store in some safe deposit box bullions. They say, but you can store numismatic coins. There is that distinction, but I really think if they're going to go around and confiscate gold, I don't think they're going to give you much of a exemption. So I wouldn't arrange whether I'm going to buy a bullion item or a numismatic item around the confiscation issue. I think that if they're going to take something, they're going to try to take it. Doesn't matter what it is. A lot of bullion dealers, not the bullion dealers that we're talking about, like SD Bullion and JM Bullion and Money Metals Exchange and BGSC and APMEX, all the big ones, they don't sell you that pitch that somehow you should buy a numismatic because they're not going to take it. I think Gold Line was famous for that. That if you had these famous bullion numismatic coins, that wouldn't be confiscated. No one knows what the government's going to do, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. All right, let's move on now to some more current silver stories. Let's start with India. We haven't done an Indian silver update. Now, Indian silver update's important because gold is getting very pricey, has been getting pricey for quite some time now, where silver has not. And we know Indians love gold, and they have a bit of a penchant for silver, but not a great one. But they have from time to time in the last 7 or 8 years gone into silver bullion purchasing. I think in 2015 was the last time. Most of the silver that goes into India isn't to buy bars or to buy coins. There is a very large silverware demand in India. They like to have silver items. They used to do that in the United States, not so much anymore. That was a standard wedding gift, was to get a silver set or in the registry to get a piece from the silver set. That's pretty much out of fashion today, but very much in fashion in India. They will have all types of silver products in the home. Middle class, upper middle class families in India will have silver. Silver jewelry is a big seller also in India. A lot of people entering the middle class. They have a middle class that's larger in population size than the United States itself, over 300 million people. So they have disposable income and they're buying silver. But they're not buying silver because they're stacking it for the collapse. They're not worried about a COMEX default or JP Morgan. That's not what's driving silver demand in India. Silver demand in India is being driven by a wealth effect. Silverware is an item. It's a discretionary item. Silver jewelry is also a discretionary item. And at 80 to 90 times cheaper than gold, you can buy more items of silver jewelry. And also you're less of a target when you're out with a couple of silver necklaces on than when you have a gold necklace worth $1,000 or $2,000. You got a $20, $50 necklace. And silver is a very attractive metal. It's the most reflective metal. It's very shiny. It does tarnish, but you shine it up and it's the best looking silver or gray metal that there is. Much better looking than platinum or palladium. And so Indians do buy a lot of silver. And a lot of demand for silver is also in industry. They have a big solar. They have the two largest silver solar plants in the world, and they have an aggressive solar panel expansion program as well. So you can see, and not that silver is a substitute for gold, but they will buy it and they do give it as gifts. It's not on the same plane as gold. It doesn't have to be. And you can see, really, since 2013, the numbers have picked up from 13 to 19 at a much greater pace than from 99 to 09. So the last 10 years have been much stronger than the 10 years prior. Now, so far this year, we're at 3,500, but that's half. That's half a year. We're on pace for about the same as we did last year. Now, Indian silver imports peaked in 2015 at 8,500 tons, and that's almost 333 million ounces. That's a massive amount of silver. And also, the silver that they buy, they tend to keep in India, and also it trades as scrap. Now, Indians also have a fairly large, like top 12, 13 silver mining capacity, and they just eat all that up. Gold, on the other hand, they have no gold mining production whatsoever. Now, so they have to import it all, but what India has in silver mining doesn't make up for their demand. But still, it's a large amount. We're going to take a look at the silver mining countries. You're going to see that India itself, through its imports, pretty much gobbles up, not that they get it directly from these two countries, the top two countries' entire mining production of silver. The third largest country is China in silver mining. So India is certainly the biggest silver consumer in the world. They're neck and neck at times with China with gold, but they're the biggest by far for silver. So you take a look at this chart. It'll be on Smaulgld. It shows the progression of silver imports and where we are. Let's take a look at how we've been doing this year versus last year on a monthly basis. And it's running pretty much neck and neck. June was bigger than June last year. May was pretty much the same as last year. We were behind in April year over year, behind in March year over year, behind in February year over year. I don't have January in the chart, but January was better. So far, 2018, 2019, looking about the same. Looks like we'll do 7,000, 7,500 tons of gold moving into India, in addition to what's already there, in addition to their domestic mining production. Let me just give you another chart here. This shows your monthly. You can see June was a big month. We had that fall off in 2016. You can see where the very low imports on the chart. And you go back to 2014, end of the year. You had a couple of months up there, 1,250. That's tons just in a month. Massive amounts, kind of slowed down. I mean, last year we had a 1,000-ton month in September. This year we've got a couple of 750 plus. So no slowing down. And I would imagine to the extent that there is discretionary Indian precious metal jewelry buying, you're going to get some additional spillover from gold to silver. People may decide that gold's a bit too pricey. They still want a nice ornament. They want a nice gift. They may buy some silver. So I don't expect the imports of silver to go down. Market observers do expect the gold to start to, the physical demand to be curbed a bit because they don't chase price. They have a 12% duty. They've got a 5% goods and services tax. They may throw the towel in unless they start to get the FOMO, which they generally they don't get in India, and they may just switch over to silver. So we're not seeing silver physical demand perk up. Now, we heard Jeffrey Christensen over at the CBD group, whatever he's part of. He was saying that this is going to hurt silver because the COMEX trading is up, but that people are not moving into physical silver. The physical silver market never really drives the silver price, and where he's missing the boat is we've seen and we will see silver ETF demand is way up. I mean, you talk about, yes, he's right, American Silver Eagle sales, they're up over last year, but they're down significantly from 3 or 4 years ago. I think that American Silver Eagle demand is not indicative of anything, but really of just retail stackers willing to buy American Silver Eagles and pay the premium, which, if you're smart, you shouldn't be buying Silver Eagles when the price is under $20 because the premium is very high. You can buy much more cheaper silver, but I do believe that if the silver price continues to rise, then you will pour into Silver Eagles. You will get FOMO. American investors are famous for FOMO. They chase internet stocks. They chase cryptocurrencies. They'll chase silver if it starts moving up. They'll buy Silver Eagles. They're just not doing it now. So I don't think that's a drag on the potential of the silver price. The chart you're looking at now there is just showing you that 2015, I said 333, I meant 275 million ounces were imported into India in 2015. I think what I was getting at, it's about a third of the overall silver mining production in 1 year. Pretty amazing the amount of silver that they buy in India in a top year, even in a weakish year. So that chart is just showing you think that 2015 American Silver Eagle sales a whopping 47 million. Well, the same year India imported 275 million ounces. So India clearly just a voracious consumer of silver. And again, it's not from stacking. Imagine if they got the silver bug stacking mentality, then they'd buy even more silver. Now, what else do we have for India before we move on? I think that's it for India. If you have any questions, we'll take them at the end. Let's take a look now what I was talking about with this stockpile stuff. Oh, let's take a look at the mining, because we did mention the silver mining countries. Okay. Here are the top 10 silver mining countries. And the reason this is important, we just saw 275 million ounces of silver get imported into India from various countries. Well, Mexico itself can mine all year. They generally do about 180 to 200, less than 200 million ounces a year. Well, they couldn't meet all of India's demand. The biggest silver producer in the world, Mexico, over the last 5 years has produced about 940 million ounces. This chart shows 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. On the chart, I picked the highest amount of silver any one country produced in a given year. So the numbers may be a little out of line in the top 10, but I picked them in line with the most recent year's production. But Mexico, number one, 2017, 196 million ounces. In 5 years, they've done 940 million ounces. The next largest is Peru at 675 million ounces over 5 years, and their best year was 140 million ounces in the last year, in their highest year of 2016. Now, it would take all of Peru's and Mexico's, all of Mexico's and part of Peru's silver mining production just to meet India. And then you got the rest of the world. China, it's about 115 million a year. But after that, you're looking at smaller and smaller amounts coming out of individual countries, Russia, Australia, Chile, all around 50 million ounces. Although Australia and Russia, you can see the past couple of years are in the 40s, in the 30s. They're not doing 50 million. I don't know if that's price. I don't know the particulars of their mining industries, but again, they were never that great. They were still only 50 million. Chile, same thing, 50s. Bolivia. Now, Bolivia is interesting because Bolivia used to be. That is where Silver Mountain is. There it is. Potosi. It is one of the largest silver hoards ever found. It still produces silver, but, you know, they found that in 1545. They've been mining that thing for 500 years. More than 500 years. Almost 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It'll be 500 years in 20 years. They've been mining it for 480 years. That is Silver Mountain, but Bolivia no longer one of the top producers of silver. But what can you expect after mining for almost 500 years? You got the same situation in the United States. The Comstock lode out in Nevada, that was huge. That's why we had the free silver movement in the 19th century. That's why you had the Pittman Act in 1918. They figured, we got so much silver, we don't know what to do with it, so let's just melt down 270 million of our silver dollars, sell them to England for double the price, and then we'll replace them all with silver from Nevada. Those days are gone. There is not that type of low-hanging fruit, although I think they found a big silver mother lode up in northern India, borderline China. That may come online in the next 10, 15 years, maybe the next 5 years. Then you got Poland, United States, and Argentina. You can see the United States, most they've done in the last few years is 37 million. Now, that wouldn't have covered the 47 million American Silver Eagles in 2015. They clearly can cover American Silver Eagles with domestic production. But if, as our person who asked the question at the top of the hour, half hour, I don't know how long this is going to be, 2 hours. If the United States needed silver, well, they've got only about 30, 35 million ounces they can mine. But remember, they can force the mines to mine more, even if it's not economical to do so. It's not like they can only produce 30, 40 million ounces. They could produce a lot more if they had to. But it does highlight that the United States is not producing, can't produce massive amounts like it used to. And then Argentina, which means silver, also in the top 10 at 30 million. So there's your top 10 silver mining countries. I got that from the United States Geological Survey. I don't know how reliable it all is, but these numbers are consistent, at least from the same source from itself from 2014 to 2018. All right, now let's move on to our stockpiles, because and we're going to talk about a very special Morgan silver dollar. Remind me not to forget to talk about a very... You know what? Let's not forget to talk about it, and let's talk about it right now. Now, this one, you're going to have to go over to Smaulgld.com and get the link, because I never heard of this. This, to me, is like finding a brand new coin. I've never heard about this. I've studied Morgan silver dollars. I know the mintages and Carson City and why they minted them pursuant to whatever act. I've just never seen this particular thing. What's interesting about this Morgan silver dollar is that they only made 10 of them. It's an 1878 S Morgan dollars, and the NGC has graded one of them, and it actually says on the coin, one of the first 10 coined April 17th from J. Gus Burt. Very interesting coin. I'll leave a picture for that on the Smaulgld website, or the link to that article. All right, let's get to the stockpiles, and then we're going to get to the commitment of traders. Yes, let's take a look at the stockpiles. Now, we've been looking at these stockpiles for a while, and it's very interesting that we have the silver stockpiles are swelling in a massive way. It's just unbelievable how much silver has gone in now. We've been following it for a while, but the last 8 weeks has really shown... what I'm looking for now is, I guess, the... I'm going to bring up what it looked like 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. So what you're looking at now is August 16th. So it was 2 weeks ago. And the big thing here was that the iShares, the SLV, had added in 4 weeks prior to August 16th, 24 million ounces. That brought them up to 380 million ounces in their coffers. Even more amazing was the SIVR added 13 million ounces in 4 weeks, and that brought them to 107,131,000 ounces. We also noted Deutsche Bank's silver ETF went up to, I think it's 36 million ounces, but it added 7 million ounces in that particular week. So big silver additions in those 3 ETFs. And then we looked at it again the next week. Let's take a look at the following week. And again, we saw more silver coming in. The 4-week change from last week was 28 million. So that took the 380 million ounces in the SLV up to 385 million. The ETF securities at 16 million, and that went from 107 million up to 111 million. The Deutsche Bank also added some, so no, I think it was 30. Yeah, it went to 36 million. Now let's take a look now. Let's get caught up to date now that we've got the 3 big ones there. And let's see where we've moved just in the last week on the silver stockpiles, these ETFs. Here we go. All right, so SLV went from 380 2 weeks ago, is now at 388 million ounces. So they added 8 million ounces in the last 2 weeks, 29 million ounces in the last 4 weeks. ETF securities went from 107 to 100 and almost 13 million. And Deutsche Bank doesn't look like it added much in the last week. It's still at 36.4. So we're seeing a little slowdown this past week, but let's take a look at it more. It might be easier to visualize than just those numbers. There's the chart. You can see the thin line to the far right. ETFs now at record holdings at 700 million, passing the old record from 2016 and 17 of 620. And that's all happened in the last 6 to 8 weeks. You can see that. That is, so whatever Jeffrey Christensen's saying, they're not buying silver eagles. Well, yeah, but the physical silver that supposedly backs these ETFs, if they're doing it right, there is physical silver being accumulated in these ETFs. Now, I don't believe in this. People insist. It's just like the old, there is no gold at Fort Knox. Silver pumpers and gold pumpers, it's good to be distrustful, and I'm all in favor of it. But they'll insist. You could take it to an extreme and you say, well, there is no gold at Fort Knox. There is no silver in the ETFs. I don't know about that. I don't know either way, but that's a pretty big push to not have any silver in the silver ETFs and to have this much being added. So, but in any event, it does show whether there's silver there or not, which I tend to believe there is, the interest in silver, because people are they have to, the reason the silver is showing going higher is they have to add silver as people are buying the shares. So you're adding silver into this, and you've got that same issue over at Central Fund of Canada. When they do offerings, they have to open up the period where they then issue more shares pursuant to more silver. So it looks like there is a demand for physical silver, at least in this capacity, in the ETF capacity. Here's another one which shows the stockpiles. You can see the sharp rise there, up to 1.146 billion. And you talk about confiscation. If government wants to confiscate it, they go to these. Not all, they're not all in the United States, but there's many silver stockpiles, ETFs, that they can go and raid and get far more silver than knocking on door to door trying to get your roll of silver eagles. I just think it's unrealistic to think that would ever happen. Not that it couldn't happen. There's a lot of things that they can come and they can take your Twinkies too. I mean, if they wanted food, and they can come and take anything. But I think if you're at a point where they're taking stuff, you have to envision what else is going on, and whether that's your major concern whether they're going to take your 2012 Silver Eagles. I don't know. Okay, that's showing everything going up, which could presage a move higher in silver. And let's finally take a look at the commitment of traders, which what I take away from this is just growing open interest. You can see to the far right, lots of contracts, silver price rising, commercials going shorter, more of them, non-commercials going longer, more of them. We're not quite at the volumes, going back to April 2 years ago. That was, again, though, leading into the 2017. So I can't really tell you much about the commitment of traders, whether it means anything, but I would say the volume means something. The volume is higher now pretty much than it was last summer, but then last summer nothing happened. So you take for this what you want. I'm not going to hype it one way or the other. All right, let's see what you guys are thinking about silver tonight in the comments section. And I'm going to put back up. I want to added another patron. We're now up to 20 patrons. I want to thank everyone who is a Smaulgld patron. I was thinking maybe I have too many options. I think what I've realized is some people push the patron, some people push Subscribestar, some people push cryptocurrencies, some people push PayPal, some people push physical donations, some people pump mugs. I do it all. And I think that hurts me. Giving people choices, generally it's like, what do I do with this one? Or should I do the Bitcoin or the Litecoin? Or should I buy a mug? Or maybe I'll become a patron. Nah, I don't know. And then you get distracted and you don't do anything. I think that's what's hurting me on the patrons or any of the donations. But I do want to thank people who actually take the patience to sit through and take the time to figure out which one they want to do. But I do think, in general, marketing is done best with one or two choices. One is even better. You just sign up for Patreon. Boom. But I know some people don't like Patreon. I know some people like cryptocurrency. So let me know what you think is the best way to promote the site to get some support for. Because, 20 patrons, I love them all. But most channels this size have far more patrons than this. And I think there's something I'm doing wrong with that. But I do get a lot of Litecoin, and I do get a lot of mail. See, and I think the mail takes a real fan and someone who really enjoys the show to send, got one right here, to send notes. Thanks, Lewis, for all your hard work. Have lunch on me with a nice check. So I do get that, and I do appreciate that. I really do. So thank you for that. And let's get on to your comments. Phil McCain is here. He says, hello, Fiona Whalen is here. Avril Blackground. Too disturbing to relate here. What happened in Odessa? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know anything about that. Smaulgld, Coins AZ. Pablo, I haven't seen you in a while. Max Strong. He's a regular. We see him a lot. We got any questions? Coins AZ wants to know, what's the Smaulgld this guy mug to silver ratio? This guy mug had a very short lifespan. We sold a few of them. Most people don't even know what we're talking about. And we say, who is this guy? For those of you who don't know, and that's why no one buys that mug anymore, because they don't know what it means. Like, why would you buy a mug that says this guy on it? I did a interview with SGT Report a while back, and I explained why the gold-silver ratio wasn't out of whack, was sustainable, and that the only way silver would go higher was if gold went higher, because silver has this dormant monetary component that needs to be lit on fire, and it can only be lit on fire if gold is catching a monetary or safe haven or inflation or whatever bid, and otherwise silver is just stuck as an industrial metal. Well, who is this guy? He doesn't understand this guy. He should read Butler. He should, they're trotting out all their favorites. What does Morgan think? And I've stuck to this thesis for 5 years, that the gold-silver ratio could go higher, wasn't undervalued, and I've always given the view that since gold was removed from the monetary system and they allowed Americans to hold it since 1974, the ratio has been averaging in the 55-60 range. when it was at 16 to 1, it was a creature of government mandate that they had to have it at 16 to 1. And I never believed the old relative rarity argument that it comes out of the ground at a certain amount, and therefore that's the ratio of the price. We looked at the other day that platinum is 10 times rarer than gold, and it's not 10 times more expensive. Anyway, that's how I rationalized it. And you would have think that I insulted all their mothers. I'm like, who is this guy? Why do you have this guy on? Everyone was saying this guy doesn't understand. This guy, yeah, this guy's been right. In fact, I'm going to do a video. Smaulgld was right, because I was going over some of the things that all these silver pumpers and gold pumpers have been promoting in the last 5 or 10 years. And I've been right on all of them. They said they could never raise interest rates. Well, I said they would, and I've got all it documented. I got to pull it all together. I said they would. I explained why they would raise interest rates, how much they would raise interest rates, and when they would stop raising interest rates. And I've been exactly right. Then there was that AC chain, which probably no one even remembers, that some Chinese ICO company was working with the IMF to issue an SDR to enslave humanity by digitizing tea. I mean, it sounds ridiculous today, but that was 2 years ago. Then there was the gold-backed yuan game changer, complete nonsense. Then there was China's going to crush the dollar and Sun Tzu. And unbelievable, the amount of nonsense that has been spewed over the past few years. I have refuted nearly all of these ridiculous stories. And what happens is people just move on from one to the other. They believe it. And then it doesn't happen, but they just never think about it again. Shemitah, all these things. And they all repeat each other. I don't know of one gold or silver channel that wasn't promoting the gold-backed yuan, or the Fed could never raise interest rates, or COMEX default. They're still talking about JP Morgan as a fact owning silver, bought silver eagles. And people actually believe this nonsense. And then they get mad at me for pointing out that it's ridiculous. The AC chain one, I think half the people who saw that video voted it down. They're like, you don't know and I went through why the IMF doesn't work with one country, can't work with one country to issue an SDR, certainly would not be a Chinese ICO backed by digitized tea. But again, you saw this, the petro yuan, how China was going to force Saudi Arabia to buy oil in yuan. Yuan was going to crush the dollar. The no gold at Fort Knox, silver shortages, de-dollarization, all of this stuff. And in fact, today I noted that the real issue with China is they have a dollar shortage. The real issue with China is they have more debt than they know what to do with. And as I've said for years, gold will go higher because of China, but not because China is going to crush the dollar, because China is going to crush itself amid its massive debt. Anyway, I'm going to do that one. Smaulgld was right, because no one else points it out. I might as well point it out, because most people, they get mad when I say these stories are nonsense. They go, oh, if I got to believe anyone, I'm going to believe Mike Baloney. Why? He was wrong. Well, I'm going to believe Peter Schiff, because Peter Schiff talks a lot, and he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Well, he said they could never raise interest rates. Then when they raised them, he said, wow, they can't raise them again. The next move is negative. He's been saying that for 6 years, and finally he's like, well, they never normalized them. Well, yeah, but they did raise them 9 times, exactly as I said they would. So, Smaulgld was right. There is no gold-backed yuan. Anyway, and the thing is, people don't want to hear that. They're not going to sign up to be a patron when they hear somebody arguing with 20 other channels that they all think are great and they watch all the time and they believe, but then they kind of forget when the story doesn't turn out the way they thought it would, or the way that it was predicted to be. I haven't heard one person say, yeah, there's not going to be a gold-backed yuan. They pumped that crap for 3 years. I mean, for 3 months, and then they realized, no, that's not going to happen. Now they've stopped with the China to crush the dollar, because it's pretty obvious China is getting itself crushed. But it wasn't obvious to them 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I was mentioning it. They were saying the Fed could never raise rates. It would collapse the economy. They raised rates as the economy continued. Maybe it didn't grow that much, but certainly didn't collapse any more than it was already doing. And the stock market went higher, which again is one of my theses, that the Fed and the government itself promotes the stock market. Everyone knows that. And that's why we have the prices we have in the stock market. Stock market's doubled in the last 5 years, and profits have gone up, what? 10%, 15%. So clearly you have a big disconnect between the economy. Oh, the other one. This is the economy and the markets. 7-8 months ago, almost a year ago, the yield curve is inverted and every last channel is out there talking about recession within a year, 6 months to 24 months. It's going to happen. Head to the hills. You can go check it out. Almost a year ago, I did a video on it saying there's too many variables in that. I don't think that it's relevant. The yield curve inverting, it could be for different reasons, but no. And when we don't have a recession within the period of time, they won't talk about it anymore. They'll come up with some other pumper story and they'll all repeat it. All right, enough of that. Let's go see what you're saying. All right. Ann is here. Hello, Ann. Got the same crowd here. We got them all here. How do I pump silver, says Avriel Blackblade. Platinum shield, platinum bullet, platinum shield. How about that? How does that work? Platinum is so useful in our lives. We could not lead our lives without platinum. Platinum is rarer than gold. There you go. That is all I need to know. Russia has platinum. All right. How does Smaulgld pump platinum? He makes a video, the trade box. Listen, no, I don't pump anything really. Except mugs. All right. Smaulgld, by the end of 2019, I'll give you another one. Do you anticipate silver to be above $20? Go back to the end of the year or early January when I gave silver predictions. Despite everything I say about silver, which appears to be negative and makes people leave the channel, I said silver, quote, set to skyrocket, will hit $20 in 2019. We're almost there. That's the $20 question. Go back and listen to it. I trash silver, what appears to be trashing silver. Because I say all this silver in yoga pants nonsense, and silver is so useful in our lives, and they are finding more uses for it every day, and silver in missiles, and silver in electronics, that's all general gibberish. You have to look at the numbers of how much silver goes into missiles, how much silver goes in electronics, and it's on the decline for electronics, and that's the biggest use of silver there is. No, but they are making more electronics every day. We could not lead our lives without silver. Silver is rarer than gold. Silver is used in yoga pants. They are finding more uses for silver every day. That's just cult talk. I looked at the numbers, and I based my prediction on silver catching a safe haven monetary bid, not based on dollar collapse, but based on general economic debt in the system. We've got these negative interest rates now, so it could happen. I could be wrong, but so far, $18.50, it's pretty close. I'm not going to run around and say I was right if it doesn't get to $20. See, I'm not going to do a Peter Schiff and say, well, I was right because it was $18.50. It's like $20. It's, I guess if I did that, people would think, oh, yeah, he was right. You actually see people support when somebody is wrong. And they give their lame excuse why they were wrong, but they think they're actually right. And then they get people to repeat that. Oh. Roger is here. Hello, Roger. All right. William Birkenroad is also here. All right. Uh-oh. Mike Herney says, I don't think the stock market doubled in the last 5 years. Smaulgld is wrong with that statement. That's right. That was an off-the-cuff statement. I'm going to check exactly. Maybe it's the last 10 years. Whatever the number is, which I'm going to look up right now and I'll give you the Dow. My point was not the doubling. My point was that the rate of increase in the stock market over the last whatever period of time. So I'm going to go to, I'll give you, okay, from September, no, it's more than doubled in 10 years, but it was 9,700 in September of 09. But if we go to just 5 years to 5 years ago, it was 16,000. So you're at 26,000. So it's more than doubled in 10 years. It's gone up like 60% it's tripled in 10 years. It's tripled in 10 years and gone up 60% in 5 years. But earnings have not tripled and they have not gone up 60%. That was the point, not to say they've doubled over a certain period. They have doubled. I'll tell you when they've doubled. The exact period of time in which they've doubled was April 2012. So since 2012, April, the stock market has doubled. And during that time period, we have not had a doubling of corporate profits since 2012, which means that the stock market is being boosted ahead. But thank you very much. I'll admit when I'm wrong. But I wasn't really wrong. But thank you, Mike. Okay. I want some colloidal silver, says Roger. All right. Let's see what else we got. JSnip. Yeah, I think JSnip has hundreds of patrons. So many people have tons of patrons. All right. Well, that's about it. I do want to thank my patrons for joining me tonight and my mug stackers and other donators to Smaulgld.com, and to the regular listeners who show up faithfully each and every night that I do have these. And for those of you who actually go over to BitChute, even better, those of you who go to Smaulgld.com and check out the charts, subscribe there. So I want to thank you very much. And tomorrow I will do Solid Gold Sunday with Smaulgld. And do you want to hear Bernie? Does anyone want to hear Bernie? If I get a request for Bernie, he'll do the countdown. Otherwise, I'm going to say goodnight. And I don't see any comments. Looking for Bernie. I give you 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. And no one wants to hear from Bernie, nor do I. So good night, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.